Mhm.
So now, just uh, tell me, how is the life in US, and how much time it takes to adjust? How is the environment? How are the people? And what is the cultural shift for an Indian student?
Yeah, those are many questions, I think, combined into one. Uh, so life in the US, I think it's more nuanced than what we are usually told in, let's say, through the popular media
Hmm.
or through the social media. So it's usually more nuanced. Um, it takes some time to adjust in the US. For me, it personally took like close to 2 years to sort of adjust to this to a different country. That is because everything will be different when you go. Like you might speak the same language, but the accent will be different. So sometimes it takes people to get acquainted with the accent of the English that's spoken within the US and which also differ like across US because it's a huge country. So that then you will have to get adjusted to newer technologies. Then um, let's say a more impersonal mode of operating everywhere. Even if you go shopping, I mean, it's a much more impersonal experience than it is in India, where there are hawkers all around. There are people flocking to you to buy this, buy that. I mean, but here, like, it's a very solitary experience. You just go something by and most self checkout. So you don't get to you know meet a lot of people in every walk of life. Um, so I think the cultural shock is there to some extent because for Indian students, like India is a very populated country, so you keep on um encountering people wherever you turn. So you're adjusted to a lot of crowded situations and crowding and those things. But here, since the population is like way lesser than it is in India, so um, you won't get to meet a lot of people or see a lot of people. So that is one. Um, then obviously you come from a different culture, so it's not that you can usually connect to them in the first meet. So that's also not the case. And then what I've noticed that it's usually that people are very individualistic in Western societies, especially in the US. So you cannot just strike a small talk with anybody walking on the road because people would want to know what's your purpose of talking to them. So you mostly talk to people when you have some purpose with them, to random people, basically. You can't just go out of your way to talk and then expect that it can turn into a friendship. So that's not how it works out here. So building friendships take time and consistency here. It's not very random or very sort of spontaneous as in our societies. Um, so yeah, those are some of the culture shocks in terms of adjusting to, let's say, a different linguistic accent over time, then adjusted to the number of people you see around you. Then you may not encounter a lot of animals because in India you encounter a lot of stray animals. I mean, so there's a different kind of human-animal relationship in India, which is not the case here because you don't have stray animals. So you may not uh, see any animals, and you might yearn to see an animal for so many days. So that um, I think the most productive place in terms of socialization and cultural exposure is, of course, your university. So I think that is where most of the meetings and most of the socializations take place within the department to some extent, and then the the cultural and extracurricular societies that are there and the events that they organize. So those are the primary means of meeting new people and socializing or having a chance to build a community. Outside of that, I think it's a very, very personal, very, very individual existence in the society. And not to say that as a as an immigrant, I mean, it has some of its own challenges, uh, especially when you are, let's say, not white. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, how is the university life? Is it as vibrant as JNU, or it is more? It's better.
It's not vibrant. It's not vibrant as JNU. JNU or other universities like you, or let's say the central universities in India in general, have a much more vibrant cultural and political life, especially the political part. But here, you don't have a lot of student politics, and things are pretty much very streamlined, and most of the things work according to, let's say, a very capitalist logic. So, I mean, those are some very basic bare facts. So there are student unions, but then they don't work. Their method and strategy of working is not. It's pretty much not
I think
like in JNU.
it's more academic.
Yeah, I mean they might have online meetings or they might have meetings, but it's not. Those are not street politics that you go in the campus, you take a walk, you chant slogans. At least not till it becomes a big issue. Uh, so the politics is pretty much like undercover. It's almost non-existent, I would say. Almost, not entirely, unless it becomes a big issue like there were recent protests in American universities over political issues uh, around the world, in the Middle East and
Yeah.
all. So otherwise, it's usually a very quiet place in the campus. In the department, people usually attend their classes, interact with teachers and the colleagues or cohort mates. So it's pretty much that. Once in a while, there might be cultural events, so one can go there. One can join some society, um, like a yoga society, or let's say some sports activities, um, or any religious society. Like most of the places will have religious communities, like for all the major
Mm.
religions. So for people who are religious, they can join those societies. Then there are societies based on identities in many places, like Black Students Club or LGBT Students Club, or let's say Asian students, Latino students. So uh, these might differ across universities, but yeah, these are some spaces that are there. Uh, so while it's definitely not as vibrant or as exuberant as it is in JNU, but still there are avenues of cultural or social exposure.
I think the climatic conditions are also very different there.
So the climatic conditions will depend on where the university is located. So if you're talking about the US, I mean it's a huge country and it's like
Yeah.
way many times larger than India is. So obviously it has a lot of climatic variations across its length and breadth. So while the northern part is like bitter cold, um,
Mm.
snowy and frozen and icy in the winters. The southern part is like warm and temperate and sunny. Then the southwestern part also has desert areas. So I think uh, these climatic conditions differ across across the region. But having said that, it might be safe to say that it's usually more more temperate than India.
Okay.